We're at the son and daughter-in-law's for the winter in Florida. I have been having a ball having a real stove and a real oven to cook with, but if they're all gaining weight and they don't like it, so I guess I'll just let them go forage for roots and grubs for a while. And I have found another project to entertain myself. This table sits in between, it's in the corner of two couches, so the legs are in really good shape. It's a pretty table, I like the lines, but the top has taken a beating. It can't be awfully much worse, so let's see what I can do to make it better. It's mostly just water stains and surface scratches. There's no deep gouges, no burns, so it shouldn't be too bad. I was told that it's solid walnut. I do not believe it. This is probably walnut. That's a nice tight grain and a good grain pattern. But this outside here, the grain is too coarse. The grain, if you look at it closely, it's open. It's open. I think what that is oak. Even at the factory where it was made, it took the stain in two different colors. So I'm not going to feel too bad if it does for me too. Here's the bottom, the legs. I'm going to have to take those off. It doesn't seem that they're glued on, they're just screwed on there. There's the odd scrape and scratch here and there. I'll try to touch that up. I don't want to make this project any more cumbersome than it has to be, and the legs really are in good shape. It turns out the legs are glued on. They may even have pegs in them. So I put a couple trash bags over them and taped it to the bottom. Hopefully that will protect them. A nice goopy coat of stripper on. My husband suggested that I could just sand it off, but I told him that the woodcraft guy told me to put the stripper on and let the stripper do the work, which sent him and my son into giggles. That just goes to prove that neither one of them ever made it past 5th grade emotionally. The stripper was on about an hour and a half. I kept renewing spots where it dried out. Most of the stripper is off now. I'm going to go over it with some mineral spirits and probably a light sanding. I've got some places here and the other join where over time it's just gotten a little rough. So we'll see what I end up with after the mineral spirits and the light sanding. Well, the stripper is off and I've cleaned it up with mineral spirits. Now I have to let it dry. That is a beautiful tone. I've got a light streak here and I still have a couple scratches on it. Not deep, just for surface. I'm going to sand it. I hate to put a stain on that, it's great, but I want to do something to even out the lighter streaks. It's sanded. All the surface scratches are out. I do want to see if I can do something with this, that lighter streak, and there is a very small nick right here. Maybe I'll try to steam that out. In the meantime, it's off to the wood store to find out what products I need and how to do what I want to do. It's a pretty piece of wood. I'd really hate to stain it up too much. Here it is. I used a stain called Antique Walnut. It's a gel stain. Wipe on, wipe off. The top still isn't perfect. You can still see where that one water spot was, that really bad one right here. And I still have that weird streak, but I think I have it as good as I'm going to get it. First coat of polyurethane is on. I'm using a new product. Home Depot doesn't carry Minwax anymore. So I'm using Varathane. Presumably this is affiliated with Rust-Oleum. I think maybe, well, several more coats. But it's coming up not too badly. Okay, the varnish is going on. The polyurethane, actually. I can't work outside anymore because that tree up there keeps dropping stuff onto my work area. So I've commandeered a corner of the hard room and made myself the most Mickey Mouse spray booth you've ever seen. Inside, I have just enough room to work without getting overspray on absolutely everything. Plus, it keeps my table clean while the coat's dry. Okay, this is really not working. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there is still this huge water spot here. It looked almost gone when it was just sanded, but then I put the stain on and it came out a little more, and I started putting the polyurethane on and it just started waving flags. Here I am, here I am. I had my husband look at it. He said he doesn't think this is veneer. He thinks it's solid walnut. So I'm getting the sander out, sanding what I've got on the top done, and I want to get rid of that water stain. Here we go. The Ryobi orbital sander, a nice piece of 150 grit sandpaper, and my victim. First coat of poly on. I'm using indoor-outdoor Helmsman spar urethane. Gotta say, I really do not like working with a brush, but a few more coats and that's going to look pretty good. Here it is, the finished product. I've got semi-gloss on here, which I would not normally use. I would have used a satin, but for some reason that water spot never did get completely out. I can go in there and look at it and see where it was, right in there. Although people who look at it and didn't know where it was with the semi-gloss on don't see it. For some reason there's so much light refraction and such distraction from the rest of the grain that shows. Nobody goes and points and says, look, you didn't get that out. So this is going to be how it is. It's a nice deep finish. There's 4 coats on here. I'm going to let it cure for maybe until next week when I'm sure it's good and hard and they can start putting drinks and stocking feet and other things on it. When I'm done with that, I might go after this. It's an old cedar chest, never was really high quality furniture, but it is solid cedar. I'm going to have to figure out a couple things, like what to do with this. And this is really rough, it's not smooth at all. So we'll see what comes out of this.